Both sides of the aisle are blaming the other for the longest government shutdown in history, but there is one organization that specifically prepares for times like these. The people at the National Institute for Civil Discourse says they have just the solution. They can train you to do what it looks like to do that's impossible at the moment: show respect to the other side. Keith Allred is the executive director of the National Institute for Civil Discourse. He joins me now from Washington. Good to see you. Also, a very interesting read and a lot of good information in there, something probably we all need to take right now, one of these classes. Walk us through this. What does civil discourse training look like on the ground?
Well, Kenneth, it's really just practical strategies for how to engage people who have different views productively. Simple things like, start by listening first. Seek to just understand the position. You don't have to drive for agreement or resolution right away. Seek understanding of the substance of what somebody thinks rather than, really searching for the motives behind it. And just recognize that, we all are more open to listening to somebody who will listen to us, so you're more likely to get heard if you hear somebody else out.
I wonder how difficult this is when you're in some of these group sessions. Are there tense moments before you get to the end and you get to the success? Do you get a lot of pushback?
We get a little pushback, and as the civility has eroded even greater over the last couple of years early on, and people are clearly a little nervous early on. But I think as it goes on, people are surprised actually at how easy it is. Really we get these kind of stereotypes of the other side. They're kind of superficial and overly negative, and it kind of fleshes people out, and they become human, and you say, hey, I actually like this person. I still don't agree with them on a lot of things, but there's someone that I can really like. They're a good person, and I can respect them without agreeing with them.
We are currently, as you know, in the longest government shutdown in history, mostly because our lawmakers can't come to a compromise. How are politicians an influence, if at all, on everyday people like us at home in terms of civility?
Yeah, I think it's having a pretty difficult effect on the American public. Various research showing that Congress is the most polarized in our history. And so Americans watch that, and it kind of stirs you up as you watch the news, and so that polarizes us. But I really think that the American people are our saving grace. The research shows we are far less polarized on the issues than the politicians are. We're even more exhausted by the venom that's going on in Washington. And most of us would really like to get beyond that.
I found this interesting. Former Democratic Senate Majority Leader Thomas Daschle co-chairs the Institute's board. I'm curious, how did he get involved, and what does having him on the board accomplish exactly?
Well, we're lucky to have a really impressive board, and it all grew out of the 2011 tragic shooting in Tucson with Representative Gabrielle Giffords. She was holding a Congress on Your Corner event, just the kind of thing we want to see happen in government by the people. And of course that ended in the tragic shootings and multiple deaths and injuries. And out of that, the people of Tucson and the University of Arizona really said, hey, we want to, see something good come out of this and help reach towards where we're supposed to be as a country. And so the University of Arizona had the idea to found the National Institute for Civil Discourse, and that was such a riveting and sobering event that a lot of people really stepped up. So President Bill Clinton and President George H.W. Bush were the honorary co-chairs to start. Senator Tom Daschle, along with Sandra Day O'Connor, co-chairing it, and then really an impressive group of other members of the boards, both Republicans and Democrats, from Madeleine Albright and Colin Powell to Katie Couric, to just a really impressive group that have stepped up to raise their voice to say, hey, we can be better than this. Our country's not going to function well this way. We've got to get to a place where we can have some mutual respect and civility.
A former executive director of your organization said this training is more crucial than ever. Is that your position as well?
Yeah, it really is. Sometimes you think, oh, the good old days when things were better, and you wonder, well, is that really true? But the research really indicates we're at a historical low in this country. Both the polarization among politicians and the kind of anger that's starting to swell among the public And that just can't be good for this republic. You know, it is a government for and by the people, and it's got to have a place for all of the people. No one group of us can or should impose our will on everybody else.
You know, I've heard a lot of people say that we're too far in, there's no turning back, nothing's going to be like it was before. Your website even says reviving civility takes a village. What would you say to those who think that the culture cannot be changed?
Yeah, Kenneth, we certainly hear that too as we talk to people, and I think people are genuinely concerned, understandably so. But you sort of say to yourself, what's the alternative? I mean, is it ever really going to work that, you know, you've just become so angry at the other side that you're just going to dominate them, and by, you know, pure force of will impose your view of what the country should be on everybody else? You know, Republicans and Democrats are both minorities in this country. More than 40% of Americans are independents. So no party, no one view of what the country should be can or should be imposed on everybody else. So what alternative is there really to make self-government work? We've got to be able to work with each other, as hard as that is. We don't have to agree on everything, but we've got to be able to treat each other with mutual respect and try to find those solutions that can attract broad support that can work for all of us.
And so with that said, what kind of steps can we take in our everyday lives to implement these goals without going through your training?
Yeah, there are just some simple, obvious things. That point about listening, just trying to understand them. You know, we jump so quickly when somebody has a different view than we do that they have that view because they're bad people. And just pause for a little bit and say, you know, maybe there's at least some basis for what they're saying, and even when I understand that basis, maybe I don't agree, but it might not all be, you know, dark motives behind it. So seeking to understand the merit. And we have concrete steps that people can take, you know, beyond that. If they want a little more depth, you can go to our website, revivecivility.org, and get some more specific suggestions. You can go to our other website, commonsenseamerican.org, if you want to join with other Americans across the country and search for practical solutions that can attract broad support and suggest those to the Congress. Really, at the end of the day, I think the American people are going to be at saving grace. I don't think we should hold our breath hoping that the parties are going to clean it up themselves. You know, Benjamin Franklin said that they gave us a republic if we can keep it, and it takes an active citizenry. And it's got to be an active citizenry that brings civility and respect to the table.
All right, the burden is on all of us. Keith Allred, thank you for your time tonight.